Hey, what's up, dudes? Okay, so we're back. We're looking at the staff, and we're going to do one more with using the grand staff, and maybe two more, and then we're probably just going to switch to alt treble clef because, if you're working off a bass clef, all you have to do is just transpose to bass clef. I don't think we need to work out all the scales and modes on both clefs. But for now, I think it's a good idea just to understand the range of the grand staff and where notes generally fall on the staff, that we take a look at the grand staff just one more time. So as we said last time, the grand staff is the combination of the treble clef, which is here, also known as the G clef, because this note right here, the counterclockwise swirl, is G. And this is the F clef, the bass clef, and that's because this note here, which falls in between these two little dots here, is the F note. Now, I'm going to just delete that. Let's talk about octaves. Last time, someone was a little confused about octaves and wanted to know why notes repeated, and I can explain that hopefully right now. Here's an A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, and we can go in the other direction. There's A, that's G, F, E, D, C, B, and A. Learning how to at least do the first, 7 letters of the alphabet forwards and backwards will really help you in music. So here we have an A, that's an A, and that's an A. How can they all be the same note? And it's actually pretty easy. This A we can assign a number to, and let's call that number 440. And you say, well, 440 what? Now, 440 hertz, and that begs the question, what the hell is a hertz? And it's spelled H-E-R-T-Z. And hertz is a guy, it's named after the guy who not invented it, but sort of, measured and calculated and explained it. And that is that vibrations work in a cycle. And once you get through a complete cycle, which is, the wave sort of goes up and then maybe it goes down and it sort of gets back to this middle point where it started, that's one complete cycle. And so he wants to know how many times does it cycle in a second. This would be 440 cycles in a second. And this one, any guesses? 880. And this would be 220. So that's why an octave is what it is. And then we can very quickly just take a look at this great mathematical breakdown of music. And here we have A440. Of course, he has this in yellow because A440 is generally the note we use to tune. Nice even note. I mean, we could have used G equals 392, but for whatever reason, we like to use A440. And if we go up to the next A up here, it's 880. And if we go down here, it's 220. So we can really see here graphically. So we can pick another note, like this is 233.08, so it should be 466.16, and of course we go up here and it's 466.16. Now some of them, this is 415.30. You would think it would be 830.6, but it's actually 830.61. And the reason why it is because, these numbers go out quite a bit. And, there's a sort of bit of rounding that's going on here. So it's slightly off, but not really. That really is a doubling. So that's all. And one other thing I'd like to point out here, and that is if you notice in the right-hand column here, you can take a look. Right, here's our A. Notice that this is B flat and that this is C sharp. This is E flat, that's F sharp, and that's G sharp. And it always begs the question, well, when do we use flats and when do we use sharps? And I think the rule is that you'll notice that the B and C are bunched together because, of course, there's a half step between B and C and there's a half step between E and F. So when you have here, right, you sort of subtract from this and go up from here. Same with the F, right? E would be E flat, F would be F sharp. Of course, it's just G sharp. So I think the general rule is that it's always sharp unless you're bunched up to another note. Then you wouldn't call it A sharp, you would call it B flat. So here it's bunched up to this other note. There's a half step between E and F, so we call it E flat, not D sharp. And same here, you'll notice that this is bunched up, right? There's a half step between B, we call that B flat, and again here E flat, right? So that's just a little something to tune you in on. Now, of course, there is such a thing as a D sharp, and we use D sharp, but this is sort of like the default setting, right? This is what to do in absence of something that would compel you to make this a D sharp, like you're in the key of C sharp. So that, of course, would be D sharp. And that would be B sharp. I'm sorry. Yeah, there would be a B sharp, and there'd be an A sharp. They'd both be sharped. All right, let's not get too crazy on that. We'll get into that when we start constructing scales. All right, back to this. So here's our A's. I'm just going to delete these, and we're going to take a look here, and let's just do a couple things. Remember, we said that was C, and that's C. Notice when I put this in, this little MF shows up. That's Italian. It's a shorthand from mezzo forte, which basically means soft loud or medium loud. And yeah, medium loud, mezzo, right? Medium loud, which basically means not too hard and not too soft, sort of like right in the middle. And I could give it another dynamic. You know, I could tell it I wanted a little loud or really loud or super duper loud. And I can go in the other way. The P is for soft. I think it's pianissimo, pianissimo. Oh God, I can't pronounce it. But basically, it's like soft, really soft, extra, extra, extra soft. But we tend to go right in the middle, the old MF. And that's the dynamics, and the software automatically puts this in. You won't see that in a lot of guitar stuff. They'll write right on the top, heavy, right? They won't refer it to the Italian. And I wonder how this would be if I had brought in a guitar instead of a piano staff, how they would phrase that. But anyway, here's C, and there's C. These are literally the same note. That's the same key on a keyboard, right? Right in the C4, right in the middle. So there's C, and then we have another C right there, and then we have another C right there. All right? And then we can go in the other direction. There's a C, and where right there. There's a C. Sometimes this little square blocks me up. I have a hard time seeing it. If you look at this, and if we turn this on its side, and we looked at it from the center out, there'd be a very real symmetry going on there, right? You see, if we start in the center, this is the same note, and this is the same note, and we just start to work our way out, right? If this is the middle, right here, you can see a very serious symmetry going on here. And I love that, because the symmetry helps us remember things. And then the other thing I would notice is that, see how this is C, but this one doesn't have the extra line. So it's like one line down, one full line down. Here it is on the third space. Here it is on the second space, one space down. Right here it is 2 lines down. Here it is 1 line down. So it's like 1 extra line down. So again, when you're looking at this, if if this note is G, then that note must be G, right? Let me just get this out of there. Okay, so I think a good way to fill things in is just to do all the C's and all the G's. I'm sorry, that's F, G, right there. All right. So a good way to remember this is just fill in all the C's and all the G's. And what happens is sometimes you glaze over It's hard to remember this stuff, but it's just a matter of practice. It really is. You'll see some common things out there where they'll take, you know, all the lines, and then they'll take, all the spaces, and they'll sort of break it up. So if you were going to do this one would be every good boy does fine, every good boy deserves fudge. There's a whole bunch of mnemonics out there for that. This one would be face, and again, we're going from bottom up. So every good boy does fine. This is from bottom up, and this is F A C E. Face. We can do this on the bass clef as well. I'm just literally just moving and just putting a note on every line, and then I'll just go over here and put a note on every space. And this one is, let's take a look. I think it's good bikes don't fall apart. And if you notice, it's just, remember I said it was a shift, right? See that shift? Right? GBDF, GBDF, right? Just a little bit of a shift. And then, of course, this will shift as well. And I'm trying to remember what the mnemonic for this is, but I think it's A. All cows eat grass, right? All cows eat grass. It took me a second to remember it. I haven't looked at this stuff in so long. But there it is. All cows eat grass. And just to help you sort of remember that. All right? So memorize this stuff. You need to know it. And then when we come back in the next set, we will construct our first scale, and then from there the floodgates will open, because once we do our first scale, then we can really just crank through all these scales, and then once we get all the scales done, boom, we're right into the modes. So and then once we get the modes done, then we can start harmonizing the scales, and then we can start creating tensions on chords and all kinds of fun stuff. So I am going to print this out in PDF format and put it down below in the description. So please, and I can even, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just give you a little bit more sheet music here on one page, so that you can go through on this page and you can write your own music out, and you can take your own notes, okay? Actually, maybe I'll go one little more, just like that, so you have plenty of room. All right? Okay, guys, that's it for now. I'll be back real soon. Until then, rock on.